you feel that you have that job loss fear. You feel that what if a company tells you to maybe hang up your boots today or tomorrow? Can that happen? And are you prepared for it?
The future is changing very rapidly, and the way it is changing, one should be always prepared for the worst and always plan what best you can in the limited resource. Financial part is just one portion of it, but at the same time, the emotional security, what job provides you, is also equally important for a human being.
We are actually living in a VUCA world, right? It's volatile, uncertain, it's complex and ambiguous. The whole, surprise that he worked in the same company for 25 years and then suddenly he was let go. That kind of shock, that's an emotional shock, not a financial one. That could happen to people.
Hi, I am Aparajita from Mint Money. And as you must be aware that we are doing a special series on layoffs, where how different generations are looking at uncertain job market and how they are preparing themselves for it. If a negative surprise happens today, then are they prepared well for it? Are they doing their money management well? To answer all these things, today I have invited Ravi Jakareddy. He is 55 years old. He is working as a senior executive at an MNC, at Automotive MNC. And we also have his financial advisor, Abhishek Kumar. He is founder of SahajMoney, which is a SEBI-registered investment advisory firm. I welcome Ravi and Abhishek both on the show today. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Aparajita.
Yeah, so I'll begin with Ravi. First of all, tell us that in the industry that you are in, you feel that you have that job loss fear. You feel that what if a company tells you to maybe hang up your boots today or tomorrow? Can that happen? And are you prepared for it?
Yeah, so to answer the first question, whether do you feel the job loss fear? So I think the way industry is changing, definitely expectation of the managements are going up. So as a specific case of mine, I don't fear immediate job loss per se, but the future is changing very rapidly, and the way it is changing, one should be always prepared for the worst and always plan what best you can in the limited resource. That's how I would like to answer the question. Coming to the second part of your question, whether am I prepared? So as you know, any preparation is always not good enough because nobody can decide what is good enough, isn't it? One is financial part is just one portion of it, but at the same time, the emotional security, what job provides you, is also equally important for a human being to occupy his mind and the way he works, because that's how his competencies are getting used by certain organizations. So, are you prepared for it? Little bit, yes, but I would say definitely it does not mean that I'm ready to quit the job today.
Right. And to stay relevant at the job, what all things do you do?
Yeah, so couple of things. After COVID, the overall, globally, the business overall has come closer. But at the same time, what has happened is the changes are becoming very fast. Every quarter, every 6 months, the technology changes are happening. Geopolitical situation will change it. So you have to always have some upskillment you have to do. Like I'm in a leadership role. So when I go for attend certain training, like how to lead in uncertain times, how to work with a global environment of the people. And the third most part is certain local competencies which are particular for me, let's say, because I deal with a lot of Asians, a lot of Japanese. So last year I started learning Japanese. So these are the few things I always try to bring myself more relevant as a competency.
So Abhishek, now coming to you, recently one of your clients lost job, he got laid off and that person was in 50s. So what advice did you give him and what can people learn from his experience?
Yeah, so you're right. He was caught off surprise in that regard when the layoff actually happened. But he has been preparing.
From industry he was, if we know.
He was in IT industry, and as you understand that, just like Sir said, like there is a lot of uncertainty around. So we are actually living in a VUCA world, right? It's volatile, uncertain, It's complex and ambiguous. So in that scenario, he was already working with us. So like we did with Sir, we had already had him planning for his emergency corpus to manage his expenses or essential expenses for at least 6 to 12 months. So he was prepared financially in that aspect. He did not invest the money that he needed for very important goal in next 1 year into equity and all. So those safeguards were there. But the whole, surprise that he worked in the same company for 25 years and then suddenly he was let go. That kind of shock, that's an emotional shock, not a financial one. That could happen to people. But once they get a sense that, now this has already happened to them, now what do they do with this? Then they'll start looking at finances. And when that was the point, he kind of updated me, not to say that he was not prepared. So we walked through the plan again to make him understand that this is what he needs to do. And then in his case, he was mostly there in terms of reaching a financial corpus for his retirement. So we told him that to take a call whether he wished to continue working or kind of Sir said like you have to keep on upskilling yourself. So he's weighing in his option, but he's kind of prepared. The shock came in more so in the emotional aspect that the company made it very impersonal when they let him go instead of counting on his loyalty for the past 25 odd years. So that was more so in the case here.
Correct. So mostly, go ahead.
So the general advice we have for people in this age group is don't make it personal. It is not about you. Company might be going through various priority change, and in that aspect, they just want to, let go some of the people so that they can focus on the next phase of their growth. So it is not always about your personal commitment or your skill. It's just a kind of priority which companies are focusing on. So always maintain an emergency corpus, the fund that you need in next few years. Don't invest that into equity.
Right. Okay. And so we may assume that people in their 50s, mostly they have money, they are closer to retirement. So if such a shock comes, so maybe by some amount of money, they might be falling short of their retirement corpus. So what are some advice that you'll give them so that once their retirement journey starts, so that they are well prepared, they are off to a at least decent start and they don't meet any surprises going forward?
Right. So the general idea is to always be well prepared, because well prepared is half done, right? So in this kind of scenarios, we always advise that have a good grip on your expenses. See where you're probably kind of overspending, and to curtail those expenses well in advance, or at least identify them before you face such kind of issue, so that when actually you face a job loss, you can quickly cut down on unnecessary expenses so that you can extend the runway of your retirement corpus if you're close to your retirement corpus. That way, you would make do with less withdrawal rate during the retirement phase of your life, and then extend the life of your corpus. So that is the kind of general preparedness we always suggest that people should do it. Don't just count on the corpus you have. Try to see where you can cut down on unnecessary spend so that you can have a higher margin of safety in terms of retirement corpus.
So I believe that day you mentioned to me that if somebody's household expenses are 1 lakh, then at least they should curtail it to 80,000 or something. By some amount, they should reduce it in the beginning so that they can continue it well.
Indeed. Because that's what we spoke about, that people in their 50s, or let's say they're in their 55 and they're planning to retire by 60, they can kind of in a fragile decade kind of scenario, wherein 5 years before retirement and after retirement is very crucial period. If they face a sequence of return risks where, let's say, their investment in equity goes through a big downturn, even though that downturn, let's say, do not lead to permanent loss of capital, but because there might be time recovery required, and in that period, because they would be constantly withdrawing from the corpus, it creates a problem where it's a kind of a permanent loss, because you're withdrawing and then your corpus is going down and there is no time to recover from a kind of a downturn in the market. So that way, it makes more sense to be extra cautious in this phase of life, and then build those kind of checks and balances where you do not overspend. Because many times people, when they retire, they have flush with cash, and a lot of expenses creep up. That way, it's always helpful that they are mindful of this, not necessarily cut down them initial phases of life, but at least be mindful. If push comes to shove, this is the place where they can target and extend their, let's say, corpus over a period of time.
Right. If for some reason they are forced to retire early, at least then they can consider. Otherwise, no need. If they can upskill and if they have any consulting role, then obviously they can go on and have it the way they want. Okay, Ravi, now I want to understand from you that from when exactly did you start investing in your career? You have had a long years of career. So exactly when you got serious about investments and you used to do it yourself and now you have an advisor. So also shed light on how things changed for you when you got onboarded with an advisor.
Yeah. So I think the way I would look at it is uh, the financial advisor like Abhishek, if I look at it, these are the people who are certified and has certain skill and competence. And I always firm believer that however good you are in terms of reading or knowledge, but it always helps to have somebody on board who can do a dispassionate view of your investments. Because sometimes you are holding close to certain real estate, for example, which is not delivering returns, but you are holding it key. I born here, I'm staying here. So that kind of thing. But somebody who's less emotional, more assertive in approach. And that's where I thought the situation was I was earning, let's say, in a gradual way, investing the way I want. But at the same time, I thought, okay, what could be better way to do that? And I closely follow all Bill's articles on LinkedIn and newspapers. So that's where I thought, okay, let's have a professional approach. And then I requested Abhishek to come on board, requested him, we had a call. And most importantly, I like that process and the kind of integrity he maintained during every interaction, because finally that integrity and transparency is very, very important, because you see a lot of YouTube influencers today try to give you certain things, and I did not want to get into that kind of trap. So that's where I came without Abhishek on the picture to answer your first question. Should I tell you what change it has got?
Yeah, so you may take us through your entire investment journey. When did you start? How did it evolve? And then what change Abhishek brought in?
Yeah. So earlier, I would say my most investment was, let's say, almost 40% into the mutual fund. But again, mutual fund was more into whatever I study and this thing without any bifurcation, that what is multi-cap allocation, what is large cap or a balanced fund or debt fund, like that. And it was all mixed bucket, or I would say. And also there was a direct equity, which I was only doing research through certain people were advising me. So I would say there was a large bucket of lot of things inside that. And when I used to look, it used to make me happy. But one day I read one of the article of some professor in South who has made 3 buckets. And then I thought, okay, it's high time now I have to do segregation of all my investments. There is a real estate, there is a gold, there is a loan, there is a total education. So what is the liability? What is the asset? So that's where I thought, yes, that is the moment I brought him on board. And after that, if you ask me today, I'm very, very well sorted, because the priority of spending that money is very nicely advised. It is not solicitation, I would say. Okay, it is not solicitation, but options what you have. Let's say I had an option of retiring my loan or invest in equity or invest into this. So we took the call that, okay, at this age, it is better because times are very uncertain. Let us square up the housing loan, which will bring in funds into the investment. So we did that. So that was a very good advice. And most importantly, mentally, it made me so peaceful that was very, very changing point to his advice. And secondly, then how to invest that future, how much funds I'll require. So those calculations, considering the inflation into account, certain things like emergency fund. As I said, I used to look at the bucket and say, okay, if I lose my job, there is a lot of in the pocket. But then after his advice, that okay, create a fund separately. So right now, within 1 year, I created that fund which takes care of my 1 year expense. Now I'm expanding it to 2 year expense. So this mix and match approach, very assertive advice, really helped me when Abhishek came on board. And In fact, I'm recommending him for a couple of my friends also.
That is amazing. And some of investments, did you liquidate also? Something where wrong investments, so to say, and you let go them off?
I would not say wrong per se, but yes, something I could have deprioritized to pay my housing loan. I took that call. Okay,
Otherwise, you would have
to
continued.
do that because the returns were not giving. Exactly. Like let's say the debt fund was giving 5%, 6%, 20 lakh is unnecessarily. You are paying 8.5% on housing loan. Then let's take it out and pay the housing loan so that that trade-off is better. Something like that. I take that, which she pointed out what to close, what to not, and it's a good once in a 6 months we interact with each other, or before that also based on a need basis, which helps me actually.
Right. Okay. Now, Abhishek, coming to you, according to you, as you analyze your 50 plus clients, what are some traits that make them different from those in 40s or 30s or Gen Zs? So 50s, what good or bad they have that on their financial investments or on their financial understanding?
So this generation is something which has had the responsibility of caring for their elderly parents as well as tending for their younger ones. So they're kind of a sandwich between these two responsibilities. So many a times it becomes overwhelming. But then you need to find your own sense about it, that to what extent you can overstretch yourself and not come to a situation where you overexert yourself. So this is what the few things that we always speak to when you speak to this generation, that you're also important. If you take too much of pressure and it creates let's say a situation where your health gets impacted, it would not serve you or your family any which way. So that kind of emotional connect we start off with and then start looking at the data. So you're right. So they are mostly there in all good scenarios. Even if they are not, we always suggest that just because you're starting off late with something doesn't mean that you take excessive risk. Do something which your appetite allows, something that you can live with if things do not go your way. It's unless taking a very aggressive viewpoint just because you're short of, let's say, some of the funds. It's better to deprioritize some of the goals and then make a realistic target that these are the goals that I would target at this phase of my life. The time is not right, or my appetite is not that much that I should be over aggressive at this phase of my life. There are situations where people are over aggressive, and that we analyze through a proper risk profiling exercise, and we tailor our suggestion based on that. But by and large, this generation, I've felt that they are mostly, overexerting themselves at many a times, and that is what we always tell, that you had worked hard throughout your life. Take some time off for yourself. Enjoy the fruits of your tree that you raised over a period of time, and then see how you're currently positioned to manage all your goals that you're targeting, and prioritize. More importantly, prioritize. Have to do everything might not be a possible case, so prioritize and then target those goals is what we.
And you think that they have good amount of savings when they come to you. It may be scattered, investments may not be well planned, but they have money, they have some good investments to fall back on. Does it happen, or it's more of living, salaries are higher, so not really paycheck to paycheck, but not living in a disciplined manner? Do you see that? More expensive?
Most of them are in, yeah. So it's a generational thing, Prajita. So as I said, that this generation had roots with their parents and are kind of, holding on to the responsibility of raising their younger ones as well. So this generation was always, in my experience, by and large, has been more experience lost or more responsible lot. So in that sense, they had savings. The thing is, many times they are over allocated into real estate. So they might be, asset rich in most of the cases and cash poor. So that is where we see that instead of continuing with that path, it's better that you unlock some of the saving that you've done, but it's in the kind of a illiquid form. So many times we come across, people in this generation, they have multiple properties or land holdings. So we make them realize that it's good that you have net worth on your side, but it's also important to have liquidity, because ultimately, let's say if you have a kid education to fund, you can't put a land parcel against that, and when you need it, the money might not come, because the buyers will also use that to their advantage to, let's say, ask you to sell them at a lower price. So we always suggest act in advance, liquidate yourself to the extent possible so that you have the sufficient cash available well before the goal date, and you're not overextending yourself in real estate. Also at this stage, life also become uncertain because they are aging, right? So we always suggest that, consider, if you're not there, would your spouse be able to manage all this real estate holding on her own, or in his own? We make them realize that, so that they understand that, yeah, I mean, physically with aging, let's say, spouse, it might not be possible to do all that. So we discuss all that, and if it makes sense to them, then we say that, okay, let's go ahead and start liquidating to an extent so that you have sufficient saving as well as the flexibility to manage that saving on your own, instead of waiting on for the real estate gains to make your retirement corpus.
Right. Right. And Ravi, can you talk about some mistakes that you feel your peers do? So people of your age in 50s, what do you think, as basis your friends, acquaintances, colleagues, that what sort of mistakes are they making in this age cohort?
Yeah, I think Abhishek touched upon that subject, creating a immovable assets. So, which, if I just give an example, I bought a house in 2018 and that was a flattish almost till 2023. The real estate market was not moving. So today's price, what I will get from the selling this house, and if I look at the interest which I paid and calculate, it's delta is zero. But if I look at the 2018 Sensex or Nifty, and if I would have invested that in either mutual fund or somewhere, I would have been in a better position to buy a better asset class, I would say, with that liquidity. So this kind of thing does happen in my age because it's a traditional thing. Parents say, okay, घर लेना है आपको अपने लिए, बच्चों के लिए, sort of thing. Second mistake, I would say, in my age, what people do is they think life is set without considering the inflation. Let's say they have funds. They think even my expense is 1 lakh and I'm covered for next 20 years, and there is a big trend, or I don't know, fad, you can say, fire, because every third guy come and tell me, I have achieved fire. So when I say fire is financial independence is fine, but why you stop working? Because you have certain this thing. But and that fire, after 2 years, they realize it was not work because that calculation itself was right, what they thought. Because everything was believed in. Some YouTube channel influencer said that Nifty will go to 40,000 or 50,000 in next 5 years. So I calculated, extrapolated everything and remained everything there. So these are classic mistakes people do. They spend a lot. I mean, you should not be conservative, but at the same time, you should be taking calculated risk as much as, because today's world, there is so much of data available. So you should utilize that data to understand how things move and make your own way. Let it be conservative, but at least you. And second thing is, the next generation, you create more, I would say, financial literacy. So that I keep on doing.
Okay, that is great. Okay, Ravi, now Abhishek, can you share some thumb rules that people should follow as they cross 50? So some thumb rules that they must follow so that they are well protected and these kind of job uncertainty doesn't affect them if it happens.
Sure. So the first thing to begin with would be to have a higher emergency corpus. So let's say during their working life, if they had a 6 month of emergency corpus to begin with, I think at this stage of life, they should increase it because a lot of uncertainty would arise from their health situation and all. So try to increase, like Mr. Ravi did, he increased his emergency corpus from, in fact, 1 year to 2 years now. So that kind of, reframing might be required so that you're in a space where you do not get worried by day-to-day fluctuation of the markets and such, and you have your peace of mind locked in your emergency fund. You're not focusing on generating extra return from this corpus, but kind of looking at that this money stays protected and is growing at a rate which is not, let's say, overly beating inflation, but just trying to match up with the inflation that the couple or the individual would face during that phase of life. So that is the first thing that they should begin with. And like Sir said, right, people are caught up with this world, financial independence, retire early. Well, financial independence is, as you said, is very important, that you have options to do with your life. But then you should always prioritize what you would do when you kind of have that option available. Would you just hang up your board and watch a wall throughout your day, or you'd rather contribute in some productive manner to the society at large, or things that you wanted to pursue for a large, part of your life, but could not do because you had family responsibility. So decide if you retire early, what you're going to do in that phase of life. But of course, there is a saying, right? A rolling stone doesn't gather moss. So, invest in continuous learning, pursue those passions that you did not have time for. And then, but of course, take care of your health and such within a more, let's say, subjective sense. But the financial aspect of it should be catered to by using a bucket strategy as well, that close to retirement years, they should form a different bucket of their investment with investment lying in different time periods. In safe, medium term, that bucket could have, let's say, a bit of safe as well as risky assets, and then a final bucket which could have risky assets as a asset mix. So these kind of basic few, let's say, checks and balances the persons should start building when they're reaching their 50s or mid 50s, so that they have this all planned out well before the due date.
Right. Okay, now, Ravi, at the end, any financial tip or career tip that you would want to give to your friends?
Oh, okay. I think the way I look at it, there is a 1 5-year good inning you have to play it consciously, and keep investing as much as you do. There is a Marwadi saying, don't allow the money lie in the bank and make it lazy. Let the money work for you. Even though it is per 1 week, you can invest, and there are funds for that. And so that your retirement is peaceful, enjoyable, what is meant to be, because each of us working professional after 35 years of working definitely deserve to have a good life. And I think people still can make a difference at this age also, and that's how I will make. And of course, most important, you are going to leave a large corpus for your next generation. Are they capable of handling that kind of corpus, which is a big question mark. Right. So I definitely would like to see that this young generation are educated enough to handle that kind of corpus.
Yeah. So basically, people in their 50s, they have good enough corpus, just that they need a structure, a framework to stay on the course. And at the same time, they should also be mindful of that, how next generation can take care of this wealth if something happens to them, or are they well prepared to lead their lives well. So these are two focus points where to work on.
Yeah, and the last one, sorry to interrupt you, but have a financial advisor signed up. It's never too late.
Yeah, financial advisor will be in that discipline.
Yeah, exactly. That always helps to bring a good perspective in life. And they are competent people.
Right. Thank you so much, Ravi. Thank you so much, Abhishek, for sharing your views with us. Really great talking to you both. And I believe this video helps people in planning their financial journey well.